as mentioned earlier in the show, the focus of this segment is on urban and rural gardening project. And joining us for this conversation, we have three of the coordinators. We have Emerson Gill, we have Chenille Chocolade, and Kadeem Bennett, who are all coordinators for Urban Gardens for Food Security and Peace. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. And thanks for having us.
All right, so let's just start off with a general background about this project itself. Where did it get started and how you all got involved?
Well, the Urban Garden has been a program for quite a while in Belize. We've done all kinds of gardening projects. Our signature garden used to be right next to the Wilton Kamabach field in Yabra. And a lady there was the Green Thumb in our group many years ago. I don't think the garden exists anymore. And I think that our urban garden that we have at number 35 Seracote has become that space, the classroom, so to speak. But I think that the work that my colleagues here have done really makes this thing pop. And so it would be good to hear from them.
Yeah, so like Mr. Gilman said, this has been done before, but this particular one, especially in this yard, it has been done before, about 30 years ago, or
yeah, we've been eating from gardens on my street, planting cocoa, soursop in a BQ pits yard. They planting in Miss Hartins Ferguson, one of the female cross-country cyclists from original cross-country cycling. And these people actually used to garden with us. So we're just continuing a tradition.
That's an interesting point, because I think when people think of urban gardens, they don't necessarily think of what is growing in their very own backyard. And a lot of us grow up in a yard that there's a mango tree, or there's a soursop, or you got your own lime tree, or you have a couple of vegetables or fruits growing there. Is that what you're talking about? Is it just to get people to grow something in their backyard again?
That is exactly what we're talking about. That is urban gardening. When I travel in the region and look at the spaces that people create food from, we are literally asleep in Belize. And we're trying to impact that.
Well, the real motivation to me is being that a lot of the foods we're eating today are not necessarily good for us, and you have to use the word necessarily, they're just not good for us. So basically we're going out and we're paying someone to give us bad foods. Whereas if you have a yard, you could utilize the space, grow something, grow your own food. We have a disconnect between growing our own food and eating the food. Like, we believe somebody else has to produce, and then we go and we get it afterwards.
Well, there was a point when people would grow, well, not grow, but raise chickens in their yard. I don't think most people are thrilled about having to wring a chicken's neck anymore. But that's a part of the connection as well. You can raise your own local chicken and grow stuff as well.
Well, I personally had my own garden in my yard as a child. Raised my own chicken and all of that. And we actually have a young leader that is doing range chicken right now and is doing an experiment on George Street to help some of the people on George Street. On another visit, maybe we can bring some of those things to life, because it's not only us. There's an experimental farm down south, there's an experimental farm on the Northern Highway, there is 30 farmers in the River Valley that is facilitating our Moringa project. So it's not just us, we're actually connected to Belize and to the region.
And the one thing I want to say is, while chicken in the past, aquaponics the future now, whereas you utilize fish. Basically raise fish, and the fish give nutrients to the plants, and that one set system. So when I look upon a ring chicken neck, but fish, if you look it up, aquaponics, the new system they have hydroponics and they have aquaponics. So that we cannot focus on. Our next stage of this garden that include that system.
So let's talk about the specific photos that we're looking at, because the urban garden that you have established, where is it located?
Number 35 Seracote.
Okay, so this is an open lot.
a lot that was a garbage lot, and we just cleaned it up.
It was a public space?
Yes.
Or privately owned?
It's privately owned, and we got permission to do a garden on it.
Okay.
We told the people that we would clean it, and we would care for it, and they have agreed, and we have continued the process.
And how long ago did you start the process of planting? I understand you just had your first harvest as well.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
This particular process, we're 127 days.
Oh, today is 128. But just to give you a quick tidbit, the concept of the garden is specifically that. We have a lot of people who own lots, but they're just left there. People
Yeah.
throw trash in them, and it just sits there. Whereas you could utilize it. So like what Mr. Gill said, the first step is we get permission, or we ask permission to grow on it, because we don't want to own it, we just want to use it since it's there. Then we have to clean it up, and then we have to start the process of growing. So like with this, like this lot is right beside his house, I believe. We had to clear this up. It took us a little while before we started to plant, because we had to clear about 80 or more bags of trash just out of this lot. So each time we dig, we pull trash. So we have to stop, bag it up. And so one of the things I want to get across with this garden is that we need to recycle and take care of not just the country, but the environment. Because when we throw trash, that the earth we need to live off. So we did damage ourselves, actually.
Yeah. So who benefits from what you've planted?
Our community,
Okay.
our personal growth, because it is truly what we call a rediscovery of self. And as we do that, I'm learning to work with Miss Chocolate, I'm learning to work with Kadeem. We have emotional traumas sometimes, because somebody might want to go this way and I want to go the other way, and we go through that. It's a real life experience, and that is why the paradigm shift is so important. What has been done for us over the last 5-10 years, and the fact that we are contributing to the second, third, and fourth edition of this paradigm shift by actualizing food security and peace.
One of the usually when you're doing something like this in an urban area on land that might not be in someone's backyard, immediately people think, well, who protects it? Who safeguards it? How do you get community buy-in? And how do you have that cooperative kind of, when you're reaping, everybody, but when you're working, everybody's working as well?
Well, I'll have Miss Chocolate tell us about that, because I think Miss Chocolate, she's our, what would you call, or diarist, and she's seeing all of the things that we're doing, and she's recording it.
How did you get involved with this project?
Well, thanks to Kadeem. It started actually on Facebook. He was interested in someone helping him to build a solar panel refrigerator. And from there, he took me to the garden. Well, I went there. He spoke to me, and I guess it's what you want then. And if you're serious about change and ready for that, then you'll find yourself there. You'll find yourself in changing for betterment. So your question was how to get people involved.
Yeah, and let it be a cooperative, but from the time you're preparing the land to when you're reaping.
Yeah.
Some people may want the benefit, but they may not want to.
Well,
put in the work.
we've had two incidents. I'm an early riser, so one morning at 5 o'clock, just before we harvested, a brother rode up on his bicycle, but because I'm sitting there and observing my street, he leaves his bike like 2 yards down, and then he pulls his little plastic bag from between the bars of the bike, and he walks to our garden and he stands up and he peruses the place, and from in the shadows I say to him, "Do you like what you see?"
Did you think it was the voice of God, or?
I don't know what he thought. I don't know what he thought, but what happened next was what's really funny, because he couldn't see me because there's a tree, there's a Hammond's tree that blocks him from seeing me. So he steps back like across the street from the garden, because he was right at the garden gate, and then because he's trying to see who's speaking. So I said to him, "It's not a good idea, that idea that you have." And he just put his bag in his pocket and walked back to his bicycle, and
No, I would imagine this is expected. You're using an open space. It's not. It's fenced, but it's not a private garden in terms of how people would expect a large cement fence to hide what's happening inside. So you have this open space in a community, and people start to see the produce that they have to purchase at the market. Available right there for the taking.
Well, the concept, really what we were trying to do is to reach out to those same people who want to come and just take, and we want to show them, oh wait, you can simply just grow. Because if you grow, it's easier than you come and take. If you grow, that's yours. Police not come, Mr. Gill not frighten you. So that's kind of the concept. We kind of really want those people. So we're not afraid that somebody might come and take. We want to reach to these people because we're
actually encouraging them to come because the garden is a classroom.
Yeah.
So come, we'll show you how to do it. And while we're showing you how to do it, we're actually doing planting of seeds with you.
Yeah.
And some of the seeds you plant with us at our garden goes to your own yard. So at the same time when we're harvesting, you can harvest too. So you don't have to walk up at 5 o'clock. You can just...
So you can encourage people to come and maybe just get the baby plants, the seedlings, to come and do it in their own. And that is, in essence, what you're aiming to achieve.
Yes. And those are the exact people we want to reach, because remember, this project is aimed at the south side. It's a poverty alleviation project. So we want to reach to the people who are disenfranchised, who feel like they don't have an other means, and we want to give them that mean. We're developing a program right now called the Belize Urban Green Thumbs, and that's the exact way it will work. Because one of the mandates of joining us will be that you adopt a plant, and you, like say you adopt broccoli this month, you will take care of broccoli at the garden, but you also need to go and plant broccoli in your yard, and simultaneously take care of both. So, and then also document the process, because right now everything is on social media, so we try to put everything online as well. So other people could see this is your progress, this is your growth, and maybe get involved. So,
Shanae, let's come back to your question in terms of your role. You essentially record everything that is taking place in the garden. So let's talk about that.
Okay, well, I've been there for 40 days now, I believe.
I think exactly.
About 40 days, right? It's been life-changing. I've noticed that each day I learned something. I thought I was recording properly, but then each day I learned to do it the right way. For example, with the sweet peppers, they won't grow much taller based on the weight of the product they have. So to count the branches instead to see how much more they can bear. You count that by seeing the flowers as well. Learning to water them properly.
She has a nickname.
Scoops.
3 scoops. Because when Chanel started, we have a watering schedule. Because not to cut her off, but we have like 37 plants, and each of them require a different type of watering.
Yeah.
I don't know, you give me a signal right now with your eyes?
No.
Okay, I don't know if we're going on commercials.
Go ahead.
Sorry, but Chanel, I guess Mr. Gill could say, Chanel used
I am the
3.
one. I kind of look at everything everybody is doing, and so Kadim was out of country, and Jamal Reed, who is another fantastic burst of energy amongst us, and Chanel were responsible for the care. And Kadim posted, where's the watering schedule? Because he was noticing that in fact we were not posting any information on it. And so I went to the garden and I began to investigate the plants, and I noticed some of the plants were looking kind of dry. So my test is literally sticking my finger in the bag and feeling
testing the moisture
and the ground and stuff. And so I did that. So I said, wow, these things are really dry. So I know I've seen her water 2 times a day. I even saw her father come by one day and help her to water. So I'm saying, Chanel, how much water are you putting on these plants? And Chanel politely says to me, 3 scoops. so I immediately told everybody, I said, man, we can't have Chanel doing no watering because 3 scoops is not going to work.
Well, that's a learning process that you're talking about, Whiteside. You call it what? A university without walls?
Yes.
So you learned from this experience. and now understand, because this is a delicate, anybody who's attempted to garden, it's not as easy as just leaving your hose and hoping it has enough water and walking away. So talk about that process in terms of learning just how exactly or what a plant requires and how you're supposed to do it.
Well, the watering, proper watering, to see what insects or animals are damaging the leaves or the crops. So spray that with soap and water. So it's like if you're taking care of yourself, something itches you, you need to get rid of it, bathe yourself, you know. Stick your finger in the soil to see if the soil is still moist, because you don't want to overwater anything. Too much of anything isn't too good. See where they're located, sun and shade. Certain plants need more sun, such as the habaneros, because the pepper, you know. But where they're located is very good. To see the fruits coming in and everything from the tomatoes, those need a lot of water as well.
Yeah.
And spinach though.
Yeah, the spinach.
When you actually look it up, you'll find that each plant has its own set of requirements, down to the pH of the soil.
Yes, yes.
That's one of the topic we'll also be teaching, the pH. Because
Testing
when we
soil and stuff like that.
Yeah, because testing the pH, because one of the concept of this, I mean, apart from learning to grow, is learning about your body, like Chanel said, because we also have homeostasis or conditions that we need to maintain to keep us up and running. So one of the key aspects of this is about health and nutrition. So we won't just teach you how to plant, we'll also touch on health and nutrition, give you the background. Why is this essential? Why do you need to go home and grow this thing and eat and consume? A lot of people say they don't like eat vegetables, you know, which I used to say too. I used to hate broccoli. Now broccoli is my number one go-to. You know, that switch, the paradigm shift right there again. Shift in your mentality and how you look at it.
So how do you, there are two questions that I have. First, did you get seed funding for this? No pun intended.
Well, you should say yes.
Actually, we have couple good partners, and I must mention that, in fact, the youth department and Ministry of Agriculture helped to set up our first set of seedlings. They've given us soil, they've given us tools to do the apprenticeships and stuff like that. And we're hoping to expand the relationship on a continual basis, because as we grow, our needs will grow.
Yeah.
As much as the services that we're offering right now, we're definitely going to be having great needs. One of the things that Kadeem mentioned just now that I'd like to piggyback on is the process of self-discovery and how a plant helps that process. Because as you begin to care for a plant, you begin to think a little bit different about yourself. You know, I had a very good experience in 2010 to 2011. I volunteered at the prison to do what we call straight talk on prison. And we were not talking about the facility, we were talking about the prison that we have ourselves locked in. And we had a young man that was giving quite a bit of trouble. He was always in the hole. The hole is the darkest place in the prison, I presume. And after we started the straight talk on prison, he was one of the energies that created the food process that we were creating at the prison. And he got in trouble and was locked in the hole, and the door of the hole was a view to the garden. And he looked at his plants withering because he was not caring for it, and I would not allow anybody to care for his plant. That young man broke down, man. That young man broke down and literally cried for us to allow him to go out and care for his plants. And through that process, we began to show him the amount of care that he needed himself, because he was a first-time offender. And I think it helped him a lot.
So you're talking, and it's obviously, there's some learning that takes place, the knowledge in terms of caring for plants, the types of plants, what it requires, but also the responsibility.
Yes.
Who is able, if somebody misses a watering day or mixes up the watering schedule, there are impacts to that as well. And I suppose the community approach, that it's a shared project, all of these things are benefiting those that you have involved. So who are you recruiting? You talk about wanting to recruit people from the neighborhood, but who's currently engaged in growing and harvesting and maintaining the plants that are there in the urban garden?
Currently, we are the full-time coordinators.
Okay.
So currently we are taking over that. We ensure it's watered in the morning, they're taken care of during the day, that we're building. So right now we have about 4 coordinators, Jamal included. Actually, we have 5 now, but that we're overseeing it. So when you talk about seed funding, I mean, this is like my full-time job, but we're not getting paid for this yet, or we're not getting funded yet. So right now, you need amenities when people to come grow with you. So right now it's us full-time. So that's why we're hoping as we go along we'll get more help, more funding, because we have 60 students who are about to join us weekly. 2 standard 3 and 2 third farm, and they'll be the ones that you'll see in this garden. You already got, if this is up, you're already seeing some, as they're the people we really want.
So you approach the schools to get them to come and partner with you?
Half and half, because I think one principal walked past, saw the school.
Nice.
Yes, they just walked past and they saw what we were doing and walked in.
Yeah.
And we invited them to come back. And he went to school, I guess, to do his program regularly.
Yeah.
And he came right back with 100 children.
Yeah, we weren't even prepared.
Come and see. And what he said to us was simple. I had to let these children see what you all are doing right next door to our school, which was the St. Luke Methodist.
Fantastic.
We have St. Luke Methodist and the St. Martin de Porres primary within close proximity. And now we are currently organizing classroom sessions for both schools starting in 2016, including a high school.
Yes, high school.
Now, Emerson, the younger people on the couch may not remember programs like REAP
Yes.
that were school-based
Yes.
and were a part of teacher training, actually.
Yes.
And we've thrown away a lot of those programs and not replace them with anything practical in terms of the science ramifications, in terms of the opportunity for students to learn science through the discovery methods. Instead of learning about photosynthesis and everything else inside a classroom, you have this kind of a situation where you're actually working with it. What has been the reaction? You're talking about the schools who have participated. What has been the interaction? Is it just a come and see, or is it a more interactive kind of situation where the science moves from the classroom to the garden?
Well, 2 things I have noticed. One is the teacher brought the students.
Yeah.
But then when the student returns on his own volition, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
I am a product of people like Beatrice Kingston Smith, REAP. She was one of the generals for REAP. And she's 87 years old now. And I visited with her yesterday, showing her pictures of the garden. And I told you, actually, I wanted to take Kadim to visit with her. Why? Because we don't normally connect faces to these programs. And I think we need to do more of that, including we don't normally have young leaders with the willingness and the drive to volunteer their time to go home and study because they get homework too. So we literally are doing this flying by the seat of our pants. It costs Kadim out of his own pocket to come every day to feed himself and all of that. I do a little bit of chefing because I have a lead chef skill and stuff like that. And we have Russ Brown, who is another one of the coordinators, that is our raw food specialist. Because we are literally trying to change everything about ourselves. This self-discovery is serious.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think Chanel mentioned how she got involved a little bit earlier. So she mentioned one thing about a refrigerator.
The solar panel.
Yes. Well, it's basically a refrigerator that doesn't use electricity. So we want to put that. It was done by some Canadian students. We'll replicate it in this garden. So the concept what we want is when you enter this garden, they're like, wow, not an amusement park, but you overwhelmed with everything that you could do too, because that's the purpose, to show you could do this as well. So we want to put in just some of the features that's to come. We want to put in the aquaponic system, so we can teach these same students also what's a new way of doing this? Because a lot of people associate agriculture with tedious hard work, which it is, but you know, it keeps you active. Because when you're in at a garden, you bust a sweat. That's your workout. Then you go eat, so you eat healthy. Our bodies are meant to be moving. We're not actually meant to sit down more than 2 hours at a time. So that's a kind of, anyway, I kind of go in depth with that. I have a biology in my background and study this, but we want to put it in the refrigerator. We don't use electricity. Then also, Mr. Gill, he always shares these things on Facebook. And there's also a stove that you can make that generates electricity while you're cooking or using it. And then an easy thing, like it literally make out of mud. I know,
so it's just it's a real life science classroom.
Yes.
What are your plans in terms of, I mean, I hear what you're saying with this particular garden, and I mean, kudos to you all, it's a great project, but do you want to replicate this in other parts of the city as well?
Yes.
Are you looking to move into other parts of the country?
We are, like I said, we had meetings with the Association of Farmers in the River Valley yesterday, because we have over 100 Moringa seedlings right now. And we're hoping that we'll be able to do 15 or 20,000 Moringa trees within a close time. And so we went to negotiate land space yesterday, since we all don't have land. Okay. And we were gifted with 10 acres in the River Valley to grow Moringa. Now, Moringa is a critical piece for us right now, because we are exporting it and we don't have enough.
Yeah.
We never have
It's
enough.
suddenly become a health trend, and it's been growing for a while.
Do
Yeah.
you know of Moringa? Do you guys?
Yeah, the 4-H had a project a while back with Moringa, a long time ago with Moringa, talking about the health benefits. But it's now become a latest health trend internationally, which means we're really in a good position to export it.
We did a sampling of a product that is being exported out of Belize, and Belize has compared to other countries, the Belize Moringa is Rolls-Royce, literally. And we don't have enough. Matter of fact, there is a farmer in the River Valley between November and right now, I think he has planted close to 60,000 Moringa trees. Now, we, the local people, and he may be an international investor, we, the local people who have already found this niche and created it, must benefit. But if we do nothing, we benefit nothing.
So that's the long-term plan? I'm just trying to get an idea of what your goal is. You have this wonderful project set up in the heart of the city. Is it to move into full-time farming?
Well, two things.
Okay.
One, this is lot number one. Remember,
Okay.
we want to do this and replicate it at different areas in the south side region. Where there's an empty lot, we want to go and build and bring the community involved, because that's the first step, to get you a little taste, some experience in it. Then the second step is then to go to the rural areas and then to do it on a large scale, so that we can meet the needs, like Mr. Gill is saying, that's happening
When you
currently.
identify one, yeah.
But before even, we kind of, let's go to the rural areas, let's start grow.
Yeah.
Most people might never even be interested because, inclined, try it yet, you haven't done it before. So first we want to establish more of these all over. The south side area. And,
Now, you spoke about preparing the land. Sorry, you spoke about preparing the land and doing certain things as well. And I noticed one of the things that you have there is sawdust, which is something that traditionally people use for landfill in Belize, not looking at the science and how it actually makes the soil fertile. So let's talk about some of those things that you do in the land preparation that are really a throwback to things that we were accustomed to doing anyway.
It is, actually. And when we begin cleaning the house lot, most of the stuff we take out is organic material. So we just shake off the trash, put the trash one side, and we actually use the decomposed organic material as a part of our fertilization process. The other thing is this yard right here.
Look at those sweet peppers.
We suffered to the flood, actually, the recent flood. all of that garden was completely submerged. And we were told that we were going to lose 100%. We literally got in with a little squeezy bottle squirt and washed the leaves of these plants, and we were able to save 30%. So what you're seeing there is literally 30% of what we originally planted.
Oh, I didn't think about that. You're right. The floods would have affected you. Yeah.
And even I did not understand, because when they said we're going to lose 100%, I couldn't figure us losing. And we literally went in there with the Dawn dishwashing liquid solution that we created. We were advised by somebody that the oil and the different trash that was in the water would stick on the leaves of the plant, and that would just literally stifle the plant and kill it, which it did many plants, but we were able to save, like I said, 30%.
In actuality, I think that flood actually helped us a lot, you know, because before, when the lot itself is lower than the other lots, so when it rains hard, it will hold in water, and we would get to see some oil residue on the water. But I haven't seen that since the flood. I think the flood basically cleaned out the entire. So there's good in every bad situation.
So what happens now if somebody is listening to this program and would love to get on board? What do they do? Is it identifying a lot? Maybe somebody wants to volunteer their lot. Are you open to creating that space on behalf of other people?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I would say yes and no, because this is lot 1 and we haven't finished. Okay. We have a lot more stuff to complete. So before we go and begin again somewhere else, and we don't have enough resources to finish the first one, we want to finish the first one properly, get it done, up and running, before we go to the next.
But if another community would like to undertake something
and take ownership of it,
right,
okay.
then you will provide the technical expertise.
Yes, definitely.
That's what we want to do. We definitely want to involve.
And I think that's the link that Marlene is trying to get across to people. If you have this kind of a situation being replicated, doesn't necessarily mean that you all will take on that replication effort. That people may come, see it, and see if they can galvanize their own communities to do a similar undertaking.
Schools have spaces to make their own gardens. I mean, it could be something that your very students who you have now visiting go and make their own in their own compound.
Well, we already, I would say some of the youngsters from the St. Luke Methodist got plants from us already and took it to their houses.
Oh, and actually what we're also doing with this, because like Mr. Gill and Chanel said, we're documenting and notating everything we're doing, because we're making a handbook of how to get one of these done, how to do it yourself. So we're making that handbook so that we can distribute, not just, well, the handbook will help you yourself, but you'll have literal information to look at, how long it will take to grow, stuff you can do, how to clean the yard, how to build the plant beds, all of that information.
And they can actually
what all do you grow in your garden? We haven't asked that question yet. We saw sweet pepper, we saw habaneros, I saw ginger, I saw moringa.
We have onion, teak, marigold, which is a natural insecticide. Or pesticide. We have spinach, broccoli.
We have callaloo,
Callaloo,
chaya.
yes.
We have
Sweet pepper.
We have callaloo with
and
leaf
sweet
half
potato.
the size of
Sweet
that.
pepper?
And
Your
sweet potato.
thing right there.
Sweet potatoes,
Yes.
nice.
Yeah.
And what has been the most difficult to grow?
Okra.
Okra.
Yeah.
William nearly jumped with excitement.
That's my absolute
Plant some
favorite.
okra.
We took 4 tries, and on the 4th try, we got okra.
Yeah.
But I think that somebody just gave me the science of that yesterday when I was meeting with the River Valley farmers. I was telling them how difficult it was, and the guy said, difficult? That's the easiest thing to grow. So he says to me, where did you keep your seeds? I have it in a plastic bag, and the guy says to me, wrong. I said, what do you mean wrong? He said, well, if you have it in a plastic bag and put it in a fridge in a cool place that don't encourage moisture, you'll have seeds. But if you just have it in a plastic bag and it dries out, the seeds will be destroyed. And he also told me that there's a little insect that lays its egg, or it's naturally part of the okra, that once the okra dries out and he has no food to eat, he burrows into the seed and eats the middle. All of that I learned yesterday.
Well, I think William just learned something too
More
about
of
his
a learning
okra.
process.
Yeah, because you can't reach this garden and enter and leave without learning at least 5 things, I'd say, at least.
But
Is
we
there
ha-
anything else you have on schedule that you'd like to have in your garden?
Well, because of the health situation in Belize, kidney, the dialysis program, diabetes, the cancers and stuff, we have some trees growing wild on our grounds right now that has been identified to be cancer medications. If guys were to come by, we could show it to you because we don't even know the name of it yet properly. We just know that one person came and when they saw it, the person said to me, "This is the plant that is saving this lady that was given 4 months to live, and the lady is now living for 4 years." And it's growing wild in our garden. I didn't know it before either.
And we also want to include more like stuff like kale, quinoa.
Yeah.
I think we already have turmeric or yellow ginger.
Yeah.
But these are superfoods. So we to try to load up the garden with superfoods that have the medicinal benefit like Mr. Gill is saying. Right now we already have that moringa. And so you asked a question earlier, what's the hardest to grow? I think you could also ask what's the easiest, and that would be actually
Moringa
moringa.
was the easiest?
Yeah, it takes about, we planted, and it took like 2 days for it to pop up, germinate.
Actually, I would say 10.
10 days?
It averaged out to 10 days because the one that popped out real quick did not last. Those just like popped and then. But the ones that came out like after about 10 days, those are the ones that we have. We have an interesting plant in the garden that I'd like to show because everybody that believes use Vicks. Well, we have the plant that makes that in that garden.
Yeah.
We have the plant where Vicks come from in that garden growing right now. And it's our first plant and it's seeding right now. So we're like guarding this plant because we
What
don't.
plant is that?
It's tarragon.
Okay.
Now,
You can make your own version of Vicks very soon.
Sure.
let me ask, because we're getting ready to wrap. But one of the questions from me, because of something that Kadim said earlier on about superfoods and also changing your diet. So, in terms of educating people, not only about growing it, but also the health benefits, is that the connection that you make as well when people come in to talk about foods that they may not necessarily enjoy eating? You know, whether it's kale or spinach or okra, whatever it is. Do you make that connection for people as well? So there's that, as you talked about, the paradigm shift in what people consume.
Definitely it is. And
They
it's-
have, sorry, enough just to take this on. We have 3 concepts we try to get at with this garden. Your health, your wealth as well, because remember you save by producing your own food.
and
Actually,
your expression.
your expression, but this is a class. So what we're doing right now, we have 5 sessions set up that will go through the entire steps. Like, so if you would come or Marlena would come, we take you through a process that covers all of that. It covers knowing about yourself, knowing about your health, how to grow. So it's a process. So we can't just throw it all at you with one shot. You know, you have to come back and grow with us. So we grow, you grow, we grow together. It's the entire package, actually.
Well, it's such a fantastic program, and we want to thank you for joining us and telling us more about it. Hopefully we can see more urban gardens popping up around the city. And for those who are interested, you are on Facebook.
We are on
You
Facebook.
have your Urban Garden Belize page, and you
Yes.
also have your, Belize Green Thumb?
Well, yes, that's a group, the
Yeah.
Belize Urban Green Thumb. But you can also check us out at the Gmail, BelizeUrbanGarden@gmail.com.
All right, so people can find out more, and if they want to stop in and see it for themselves, it is on Mahogany Street.
No.
Zericote.
It's on Zericote Street, sorry.
Zericote,
Number
right off
35.
Mahogany,
Yeah.
right off.
Right off
first left.
Mahogany. So people can go and check it out for themselves and see the great work that you've been
Yes.
doing. We want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best of luck. Hopefully we'll get a chance to check in with you very soon.
And-
There are some works here from artists. We got to wrap up though. So you can find out more when you check them out
Yeah.
at the garden.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. When we come back, it's for Takasan. Stay tuned.